The objectives of this lecture are to explain the role of the ATP cycle in metabolism, to explain how the processes of cellular respiration and photosynthesis are linked, and to describe the energy transfers and the fate of carbon atoms in cellular respiration and photosynthesis. Now let's talk about the process which creates those sugars using light energy, the process of photosynthesis. If we look at the overall reactions for photosynthesis, we have carbon dioxide and water, and then of course many reactions, and our products are glucose and oxygen. Again, in order to balance this, we're going to have 6 of each of these molecules. This set of reactions should look somewhat familiar because it looks like the opposite of cellular respiration. And of course these reactions are going to require an input of energy, and that energy ultimately comes from light. And again, we're replacing those. In this case, we're replacing polar bonds with nonpolar bonds. So looking at these overall reactions, you might want to consider which must have occurred first during evolution. Do you think photosynthesis occurred first, or do you think cellular respiration occurred first, and why? So photosynthesis occurs in 2 sets of reactions, or 2 phases. The first of these are called the light-dependent reactions. In the light-dependent reactions, a pigment called chlorophyll captures light energy and this energy is transferred through a series of reactions to make ATP. In the second set of reactions, the light-independent reactions, the ATP is used, this source of energy is used to convert the polar bonds of CO2 into the nonpolar bonds of glucose. All of the reactions of photosynthesis occur in the chloroplast, and the chloroplast, like the mitochondrion, has compartments. However, it looks a little bit different than the mitochondrion because the inner and outer membranes are not involved in these compartments, but rather there are additional interior membranes called a thylakoid. And this creates a compartment inside the thylakoid and a compartment outside of the thylakoid. So we have this membrane that's separating these 2 compartments from each other. The thylakoid is the location of chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is actually found embedded in the membrane. It's an organic molecule that is mostly hydrophobic that sticks down into the membrane. So it's anchored in place in the thylakoid. And then that energy can be transferred in the membrane to create, again, a gradient between these compartments. And that gradient is what's used to make ATP. Then carbon dioxide is going to come in and it's going to be converted into sugars using that energy from ATP. In class we'll discuss in a little more detail how this gradient is used to make ATP. So compare and contrast the processes of photosynthesis and cellular respiration. They have a lot in common, including their products and reactants. And next time, we'll look at how these processes are related to each other in terms of how they contribute to the concentration of certain gases in our atmosphere.